I'm joined, I will be joined today, currently by Councilmember Abbott Kamen, David Martin, Mayor Pro Tem, Meena Patel Davis, Sarah Jane Smith, and Ashia Berry, along with Emily Whitehurst from the Houston Area Women's Center, and Dr. Purse, the local health authority. We'll start today with the COVID-19 update and the positivity rate. The Houston Health Department today reports 329 new cases of COVID-19, bringing Houston's total to 69,242. So 329 new positive cases. Sadly, there are 7 newly reported deaths, bringing the city's total number of COVID-19 deaths to 970. And there are a couple of people on this list who have died with no underlying health conditions. So again, 329 new positive cases, 7 more people we're adding to the list. This week, we are reporting Houston's new positivity rate at 6.1%. As you know, last week it was 6.6%, and then before it was higher than that. And again, not necessarily, as Dr. Purse would say, focusing on that number of 6.1%, but as you can see, we are still in a downward spiral, which is good. But the goal, of course, is to get us to 5% and below, to crush this virus. That is the goal. But 6.1% is the new positivity rate that we are reporting today. It is important that we remain very focused, very intentional. Continue, please, to put on these masks and to engage in social distancing, and at the same time to engage in proper hygiene. I'm getting some reports that these bars, so to speak, are getting crowded again. So let me remind people, everybody wanted bars to open, and I know that the state through TABC changed the rules to allow many of these bars to redefine themselves, more or less, in terms of where they are serving food. But let me ask people, say to people, please obey the occupancy requirements, not to be jam-packed in these establishments, or you run the risk of delaying the opening any further, or even going back. So again, this virus is still very much present. We need to be very, very vigilant. Even though the positivity rate is moving in the right direction, it can easily go up just like it is coming down. Let me pause at this moment. Let me bring up Dr. Purse.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to draw everyone's attention to the graph in front of you, because you see that, as the Mayor pointed out, our positivity rate is 6.1%. But I also want you to see that on the far right side of that graph, that those bars are very, very short, because it's early data, it's recent data, and if you look at just the previous several weeks, you can see it's a small amount of data compared to what we had accumulated over the previous number of weeks. You will also notice, for those who've been paying close attention, that last week we reported 6.8%, and this week it gets recalculated 7.8%. So that's as more data comes in. And if you remember, we had predicted that that is exactly what would happen, is that as a few weeks of more data come in, because the labs and the state, we've asked that they report the positives first, so we're going to see a bump up in this. And so as the Mayor said, and want to reinforce, if you look at those numbers over the past 4 weeks, they are coming down. And that's the important thing to focus on, is that the numbers are coming down. The numbers are coming down for a reason. It's not random. It's not by chance. It's not good luck. It's because people are doing things that we've asked them to do, and wearing the mask and staying apart from each other. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that there are shortcuts people can take. So one of them, I'm seeing more and more people wearing visors instead of masks, the clear visors. And I want to point out that if you want to wear a clear visor on top of a mask, that's fine. That'll protect your eyes from becoming infected if somebody should cough or sneeze. But the visor alone does very little help. And there was a study that came out just recently. I don't have any of the graphics to show it, but it basically showed that the visor alone is essentially useless in protecting anyone in the event that you're sick. It's also almost useless in protecting you if someone near you is sick. So if you want to wear a visor, that's fine, but it needs to be worn in conjunction with a mask. So it's the masks that are the important thing. They predominantly protect the people around you in the event that you are unknowingly sick. And remember, a very high percentage, somewhere at least 40% of people who are sick don't know it. But it also provides you some small protection from becoming infected. The visors, however, provide no protection along those lines at all. And so they are only good to protect your eyes from becoming infected if you're also wearing a mask. Mayor?
And let me just say to you, on Friday, I went and got my flu shot, this arm right here. And because I'm a young age, they said I had to get a heavier dose, so I got a heavier dose. Mayor Pro Tem, don't laugh at me now. But I got my flu shot, and I'm encourage you to get you a flu shot, okay? Because we're getting, flu season. And then I went and got tested all on the same day. So I got my flu shot, and I got tested, and then on Saturday when I was out with the food distribution, I had on 2 masks and not just one. Quite frankly, the one that I did have on didn't go with the outfit, so I had to put on another one that went with the outfit, and then I was color coordinated. So don't hate. But anyway, let me encourage you, get tested and get your flu shot, okay? And then let's work together I can't wait till we get that number down to 5% and below. So please work with us, and so that next week when we report, hopefully the number will be in the 5s, and so let's get the number down. Having said that, thank you, and now we're going to hold on to council members, and Dr. Person, I'm going to ask Meena Patel Davis and Sarah Jane Smith, and Ashia Berry, Emily Whitehurst, if she's here, to all come up. There's Emily. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we are expanding the Mayor's Office of Human Trafficking to include domestic violence. The office, which was created in 2015, will now be called the Mayor's Office of Human Trafficking and Domestic Violence and will continue to be led by Meena Davis. We're adding domestic violence to this office's responsibilities because both domestic violence and human trafficking are forms of gender-based violence. Coincidentally, this past Sunday, September 13, yesterday, marked the 26th-year anniversary of the signing of the Violence Against Women Act into law. And now, as our nation and community battle a global pandemic, we know that the stresses created by the COVID-19 pandemic have increased the risk for domestic violence, sexual assault, and abuse for women and girls nationwide. COVID-19, let me quickly say, is no excuse for any kind of domestic violence or abuse. Over the last 5 years, the Anti-Trafficking Division has successfully integrated anti-trafficking responses across city departments, raised the level of dialogue in our city on sex and labor trafficking with Houstonians and corporate citizens. The office has also responded to emergencies and ensured emergency shelter for partner agency clients and that conduct outreach. And as a leader, the office has been asked to train mayors' offices across the United States and some international governments on Houston's unique municipal response to human trafficking. Earlier this year, Houston became the first major U.S. city to pass a hotel ordinance requiring that hotels train employees on human trafficking and post required signage with indicators of sex and labor trafficking with tip hotline numbers. It is a natural fit that the domestic violence work falls within an expanded scope for what was my anti-trafficking division. That was also made clear when I asked this division to step up and lead the COVID-19 response to help victims that were shut in with abusers. Domestic violence is a significant problem in Houston. In the last few months, service agencies like the Houston Area Women's Center, led by Emily Whitehurst, have reported a 40% increase in calls and aid to victims of domestic abuse, reported a 90% increase in requests for protective orders. While there is a complexity to this issue, one thing we want to focus on is the aspect of financial or economic abuse that victims of domestic violence and human trafficking experience. In general, 99% of domestic violence victims suffer from economic abuse, be it abusers stealing their money or racking up an average annual coerced debt of about $16,000 or destroying their credit. On the human trafficking side and through our services platform, we project lost wages for just 10 of our 50 clients is over $158,000 from April to December. It takes about $700 on average to stay safe and navigate material hardships that can cause someone to return to their abuser. Whether it is a victim of domestic violence or human trafficking, the reality is that survivors sometimes flee from their abusers with nothing more than the clothes on their backs. That's why the first step for this expanded division will be to launch the Maker Collective in partnership with Magpies and Peacocks, the nation's only nonprofit retail design house focused on sustainable fashion and featured in Elle, British Vogue, and London Fashion Week. Maker Collective is an independent maker entrepreneurship program and will offer tracks to sew, cut patterns, and use remote visual learning techniques through making their first for-sale product. We will host 2 information sessions, including one in Spanish on September 15th before our anticipated October 1st launch. Maker Collective will be set up to transition 6 clients per month into the program for the 3 to 6 month pilot period. In addition to the upskilling, it will offer a broad range of logistical, financial, and therapeutic supports to ensure participant success. You will hear from the founders, Sarah Jane and Ashia, shortly. In addition to working on economic empowerment of survivors through innovative programs like this, we will also pursue additional avenues for economic security, dialogues on gender equity through community and civic engagement, focus on service deserts, and changing cultural attitudes. Over the coming months, we will share more details on additional initiatives. This Maker Collective and the expansion would not be possible without the financial support of the Houston Endowment, Freeze Foundation, Grant Me, the Wisdom Foundation, the National Football League, and the Kanta K. Patel Fund. I understand that it is the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, Debbie McNulty, that helped identify Magpies and Peacocks, so I want to thank MOCA Director Debbie McNulty again. At this point, let me just pause and bring on Council Member Abby Kamen, who has simply been instrumental in this area. And several months ago, when we were discussing how COVID is impacting so many families, you were out front on this issue. So let me now recognize and call on Councilmember Abby Kamen for her remarks.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd just like to stop and give a round of applause for how monumental this is, that the City of Houston is expanding in office to include domestic violence. So thank you both. And Mayor, as you said, I think this started, it's all a blur because of COVID, but late March, early April, when I approached Mayor Turner with a request, and I was extremely concerned about not just nationwide, but the global trends of domestic violence and the rapid rise during COVID. And making matters worse during COVID, survivors were trapped at home with their abusers, making them even more isolated from the outside world. Without hesitation, the mayor and our city launched into action, becoming one of the leading municipalities in the nation to address this issue head on. So Mayor, again, thank you for your leadership and your willingness to work with all of us on this. I am so grateful to the innovative and creative thinking of Meenal Patel Davis and her team, and all of our community partners the list continues to grow as it's going to grow and expand today with Magpies and Peacocks. We have incredible partners working with us: Houston Area Women's Center, the Harris County Domestic Violence Coordinating Council, the list goes on, and many others around the city, including AVDA, that are providing legal advocacy for survivors, and the mayor referenced some of those statistics. 90% increase in the need for protective orders right now. Today, we're focusing on economic support, economic independence, and economic empowerment for domestic abuse and sex trafficking survivors. Without this critical support, oftentimes survivors find it hard to leave and often return to their abusers because of the financial situation that they're in. Economic independence is key to breaking the cycle of abuse. I'm grateful to be a part of a city that continues to rise to the challenge and continues to ask what more we can do to ensure that every single Houstonian is safe in our city. As we continue to combat domestic violence, I want to remind everyone who's listening to please remain vigilant, look out for friends and neighbors in your family, and above all, to remember that you are not alone. Please go to nocovidabuse.org for additional resources, or you can call the hotline. It is free and 24/7. It's 713-528-2121. And now, if it's not safe to call, you can also text at 713-528-3625. COVID exacerbated the problem, and it may have spurred the call to action, but we are not going to stop here. Today's announcement with the expansion of an official office that includes domestic violence ensures that the work to protect survivors and their families will continue in years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. And the expanded division will be led by Meena Patel Davis, who has provided leadership to the Human Trafficking Division. She served as a special advisor on human trafficking for 5 years and will continue to lead the office as the director, now with expanded responsibilities. And Meena has given tremendous leadership to human trafficking. She's also spearheaded this effort to combine the two, to the Mayor's Office of Human Trafficking and Domestic Violence sponsors. And I know domestic violence, and I know she will bring a great deal of leadership to this new division. Meena Patel Davis.
Thank you for your leadership, Mayor Turner, and of course, Councilmember Kamen. My team and I are glad to continue this work beyond the initial COVID-19 response. We've completed our initial assessment of the domestic violence space and identified several ways we can enhance existing efforts. I want to hone in today on the economic and therapeutic pieces Mayor Turner talked about and emphasize how this is common across victims of human trafficking and domestic violence. The Maker Collective is for survivors that are in transitioned phases of their lives and are ready to take financial steps toward independence. The program design is geared to survivor success and includes participant stipends during the 30-day upskills period. Participants will also be required to attend virtual financial counseling sessions focused on increasing savings, decreasing debt, and restoring credit. In order to incentivize savings, Maker Collective will also include access to a cash match savings program. Like the mayor said, it takes $700 to be safe and navigate a crisis. By the end of 6 months, if we extend our pilot beyond the initial 3, participants can have $500 saved. With the help of their case managers and our program staff, we will also host participant group calls in order to build a sense of community and solidarity as they tap into the therapeutic nature of sewing and creating. Just 2 weeks ago, we hosted a run-through of our info session with potential referral partners, some of who are here today, including The Landing, referral partners, and a survivor. As we sought their feedback, the response was really made clear in the demand for an initial 18 spots. We received over 50 RSVPs from 7 referral partners in the matter of a week. Our office will work with funders to ensure that we can make this opportunity available to all that are selected to participate. Our goal is to ensure that survivors of human trafficking and domestic violence have multiple pathways to economic stability. If you're interested in partnering with our office or funding an aspect of this, please contact our office. Magpies and Peacocks is the perfect partner since their model will upskill survivors locally while disrupting fashion production and the labor trafficking that results from that globally. And as the mayor mentioned, we too work locally and often have a global impact. The synergies are real and run deep. Here they are to tell you more themselves. It's my pleasure to introduce Sarah Jane Smith and Ashia Berry, co-founders of Magpies and Peacocks.
Thank you to Mayor Sylvester Turner for supporting such important work. To Debbie McNulty in the Mayor's Office of Multicultural Affairs for connecting us. And to Mino Patel Davis and her great team at the Mayor's Office of Anti-Human Trafficking and Domestic Violence for including us. We are really humbled and we appreciate it. Magpies and Peacocks are proud to be a part of the expansion of the department and thrilled that we do so in the capacity of creating individual empowerment through the Maker Collective. Magpies and Peacocks have worked in the sustainability and textile sector right here in Houston for over 9 years, keeping textiles out of landfill and working with our skilled network of designers and professional makers, mainly local, to transform that material into marketable products. Diverting textiles from landfill is not only an essential part of meeting global sustainability goals, but it creates a valuable material resource for manufacturing. We have diverted over 145 tons of textiles unnecessarily destined for landfill and created thousands of products from them, all sustainably produced right here in Houston with our community workforce network. So skill building is essential to our work, from keeping sustainability on the curriculum at universities all the way to building a robust workforce ecosystem supporting the growth of trained independent makers. We are excited as a team to bring our knowledge, experience, and skills to the Maker Collective, to present financial empowerment and employment opportunities to survivors, and to partner with the innovative and impactful department at the Mayor's Office of Human Trafficking and Domestic Violence. And lastly, we are so grateful for the support of our Houston community. Thank you.
Okay, now let me bring up Emily Whitehurst, who has just been a fantastic leader with the Houston Area Women's Center. Emily.
I just want to be very brief and thank Mino Patel Davis, Council Member Kamen, and Mayor Sylvester Turner. We are thrilled that you are building on the success of the Human Trafficking Office to incorporate domestic violence. As an agency that has worked for over 40 years supporting survivors in both arenas, we are intimately familiar with the interconnections of these issues. The lives of our clients don't make those distinctions, while we do in the professional sector. In the lives of our clients, those distinctions don't matter. So we are truly, truly thrilled. If I didn't have a mask, you'd see my big smile. We are so excited. I also want to thank you for being proactive. Too often, we see survivors, we call them victims, and we see people who have had these experiences through the lens of their trauma, through the lens of their victimhood, and instead you have chosen to see them through the lens of their strengths, through their potential. It is a game changer, and it's so Houston. It's just so Houston to say, we're going to invest in these survivors and in their opportunity and in their potential. And it changes the way we think about the solutions. Instead of just thinking in terms of crisis response, we're investing in real solutions to these systemic issues, and I am deeply, deeply appreciative. I am so excited we get to deepen the partnerships that we've already built in housing human trafficking survivors and responding to the COVID crisis, and in now empowering survivors to build self-determined lives independent of their abusers and financially sustainable. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. And just to sum it up, COVID doesn't win, and domestic abusers do not win. In the end, we will put people in a much stronger, better position to take care of themselves and their families.